Bye.
Hi. Hiya. Welcome to Grow's If You Only Had One Book Club. This is part of the Grow at Home series, which Grow is doing to stay connected with people whilst Grow is closed. Soon to open, thank goodness, thank goodness. Grow has hosted this event a few times in the past in the space, and it's a really relaxed format, which is great for everyone. People seem to really enjoy it. So it's different to a usual book club, where you all try and read at the same time and then share views. This is just a way of sharing recommendations, which people can then read at their own pace, and you get to share your favorite book. So I'm Rachel. I'm the craftsperson for this book club session. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a seamstress, which I guess I'm a sewer. Sometimes I'm a tailor. I also enjoy crochet, embroidery. Couldn't really call it embroidery. I sew words onto things, and I do cross stitch. I've never done much painting or drawing, and I'm quite nervous about it actually. So the book I found has helped me sort of expand my horizon somewhat. And the book is Conscious Creativity by Philippa Stanton. And it's, can we see it?
Oh, wow.
And I absolutely love it. I found it whilst browsing on the old interweb. Just I kind of feel like I get stuck sometimes. Fabric is very much right there. It is, and you can fray it and you can sew it and you can scrunch it up, but it's not like paint that you can go nuts with. And sometimes I think it's quite exciting to be able to fold a dead straight line and then sew it, and you can get really kind of quite nerdy about it and about how the fabric feels. And then sometimes I feel like I get stuck in that, and I wanted to branch out a little bit and be able to think a bit outside of the box of templates and straight lines and rulers and threads. And so this book's really helped me kind of do that. It's basically a workbook, and I always enjoyed doing workbooks when I was a kid, colouring books, anything like that. And it starts off, I mean, I think if you're an artist, it might seem a bit childish, but I think it's good for anyone that wants to get into craft or wants to try a different medium. So there aren't any page numbers in it, which promotes the feeling of freedom, I guess, to just check through any page you want, open it when you want. And that is the style of the book, really, is to encourage thinking, yeah, I found it good. I suppose it's like a writer's block for a writer when you're writing away and you just can't think of the next word, or you've got an empty page in front of you and you can't think what to do, then it's really good for that. I particularly liked the page. It says, do something impulsive on it. And so I did. And I made it. Oh, you can't see it. Can we see it?
Yeah, we can just, yeah.
Yeah, I quite like that.
Yeah.
And it's almost, it reminds me of a bird's wing or a beard or a splat of mud or something. And I actually found, as soon as I put the pencil to the paper, I got really passionate, almost on the verge of angry, and did this big, huge squiggle, which you could then trace onto something or color or something like that. So yeah, it brought out a a passion in me that I don't find with sewing. Sometimes you can get excited about the colors and stuff like that, but when you're sewing, you have to be quite, it's very zen-like for me. And so that was a way of breaking out of the zenness.
So
yeah.
Have you got one author, or is it one author?
Yes, it's one author, Philippa Stanton, who I haven't heard of. I don't know if she'd done anything else. There are contributors, but a different part of the book. It tells you to do everything in the book, which, like, to stick things in and fold things and rip things, and actually drench the book and then put it in the oven to create different textures and things. Yeah. But I don't really want to do that because I think it would ruin the book, and then I'd be like, I don't know.
I mean, it's interesting because the book I bought to the last book club about contemporary art was a book by a artist. I will just show it because it's here actually, and it was a gift to me. It's an expensive book by Sophie Calle, and it's actually signed and it's beautiful inside, and it's shared, the link shared another one, and it's completely opposite of what you just said. Like, I feel like I should wear gloves, you know, and very anxious about it, like, and I've just left it places it's going to get stained. And it's interesting, like, how you feel about a book, isn't it? Like, you're being encouraged to kind of to destroy it, cook it, bake it, you know.
Yes, exactly. And yet I always turn the corners over of my pages, which some people view as being sacrilege and you must never write in them. And this is like, one page it says get different fruits and splat them onto the page to see what colors and textures form from that, and also talks about what sensations you get from it. So you would get smell leads to flavor, that might evoke some memories, as well as putting colors onto the page and you know, pips and lumps and bits of skin and everything. So I don't know how that would translate into fabric and sewing, but maybe you could do some embroidery, and like the pips could be like, I don't know if you know, French knots, like little bobbles that you can make with threads and things like that. Or you could throw paint over everything. Maybe I need to do some painting.
Yes, it sounds like there's something coming out of you. A desire for painting. I mean, it's really interesting. You talk about the difference, you know, that kind of the nerdiness and precision of. I use sort of sewing in my work without any, you know, in actual sort of canvases and things and pins, and I love the kind of. I know it's something attractive or reminiscent for me, or something about kind of that, maybe something to do with feminism or something, I don't know. I've never really sort of looked into that side of it, but I am fearful of that kind of precision that you need because of that sort of skill. And I know that's something that you'll feel really passionate. I mean, you've done workshops at Grow where you're you know, spending time with people just to sort of garn their clothes, put buttons back on, and that sort of range between sort of being able to do things that everyone can find useful to something that needs a lot more precision and skill. I mean, I'm really interested in hearing more about that, how your book might relate, that tension between sort of creativity and wanting to splash things on a book versus doing it with precision.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. I think I like a very quick sew as well, so you can run something up that is very quick and very effective and looks messy, and I quite like that. But then I remember making some curtains that were they matched precisely, and they were, all the lines were properly straight, and I got a almost bigger buzz from that. So Yeah.
It's there's also, you know, that science and engineering side of it as well, isn't it? With the, you know, things have to if you're making curtains, you know, if they're not functioning properly, they're
Yeah,
annoying, I imagine.
it's
You know?
annoying. And also it stands out if they're not accurate. You know, sometimes it's the first thing you see when you walk into a room. They have to be symmetrical, unless you're going for some, yeah, random.
Yeah.
But it's got to look obviously random, otherwise it just jars.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I think that's where I've always struggled with it, because I remember my granny trying to teach me to knit so many times,
oh, yeah.
and I've got dyspraxia, and I
Oh,
tried my hardest, but I could never remember, you know. And I think maybe I'm kind of anxious about getting back into that kind of
right.
precision. Sorry?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't know much about dyspraxia, but I would imagine that's quite hard. It's to do with coordination? Is it
Yeah,
hand-eye coordination?
yeah, and just instruction, sort of repetition,
Right.
you know. So I'd sort of forgotten what I was supposed to be doing by the time I got to the end of the row. But yeah, it's but then there is also that sort of aesthetic, and some of the things you're talking about your book as well, about just letting yourself go, and
Mm,
you know, having that preciseness, which is rewarding, which you were saying, you know, you're almost as proud as you were about your curtains as you were something, you know, a quick fix.
yeah.
um yeah, it's sort of, it's so multifaceted, isn't it? It's sort of
Yeah.
expression, it's taking care of yourself, it's being able to support, you know, do
Yeah.
things yourself, mend.
Yes, exactly. And I found I got into it because I wanted a hobby that created something. So I started baking. I got into French cooking, baking. And I was like, who's going to eat all this food? It was wonderful, but it was like, I need to be doing something um, creative that doesn't involve food, you know. Um, and so I dabbled with sewing on and off as a child, and my gran taught me to crochet. And did I learn to knit? I don't remember. My gran was an amazing knitter. My mum's an amazing sewer.
Mm.
Um, and it's often the way you try it when you're a kid and it's frustrating. And then I tried it as a teen and it was even more frustrating. And then something clicked and I just totally got into it.
Mm.
And I haven't looked back really, but yeah, the precision thing I've never bothered about. And then me and my sister had sort of neat offs. She's very neat. And our auntie, oh my goodness, like I can't tell the difference between her hand sewing and the machine sewing. She is that neat.
Wow.
So yeah. So um, I'd often laugh and be like, oh, mine's rubbish. And my sister's like, well, you need to be neater. And I'm like, no, I don't. And I'm like, oh, yes. It's so satisfying when it's really, really neat.
Yeah.
And you can get really quite into that and then forget how to be a bit more creative, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting with a kind of practice in that way, and this is definitely not something I've never been able to sort of develop a practice, because I seem to, as soon as I start getting somewhere, I tend to sort of disrupt it somehow. But with
Is that not part of the creativity?
yeah, it could be, maybe it's sort of frustration as well, as not being able to kind of, you know, get to that point where there is that precision. But yeah, it's I mean, in terms of kind of practice, I mean, in a very practical sense, as in repeated, you know, is it something that you think over years you can sort of get better through just repetitive, you know?
Oh, absolutely. They talk about the 10,000 hours thing where you become a genius at something after 10,000 hours. Actually,
Yeah,
I think that was dispelled as a myth. But anyway,
yeah,
um, I think if you are, yeah, when I struggled with crochet, I could do it, like it's very satisfying if you have a very slippy yarn and a nice shiny crochet hook. The yarn, it's almost like water flows when you're crocheting, and crochet is basically making knots.
Right.
So it's like it's almost like a dance you do with the crochet hook and the yarn, and once you get into a flow, it's can get really mesmerizing and quite addictive.
Yeah.
But I found the first thing I made as an adult with crochet was some square coasters, and they were 4 square coasters. I mean, how hard can that be? Well, they were all different. They were all different sizes and shapes, and I couldn't work out what I'd done wrong. And when it came down to it, I hadn't realized that I had to actually count the stitches on that row and then add another one and do the next row. And I think if you can remember that, if you can remember to go, right, I can't count as I go along, but I can count afterwards. And actually my mental arithmetic improved vastly.
Yeah.
Like when I first started counting the stitches, I couldn't count a row.
Yeah.
Because I'd think, oh, was that 7 or 8? So then I'd have to count it again. And then I noticed after a while that I'd actually got quite good at it.
It's like brain training.
Brain training, yeah, exactly. I mean, the job I had at the time and the jobs I have now, nothing involves being able to count quickly and efficiently. And so after a while I sort of learned to count all over again and count rows and things like that, so which helped in other way, you know, when you, I don't know in what other ways, when you get your change from the shop, you can go, like literally like that, much quicker.
I mean, people talk a lot about the kind of benefits they've had of being part of craft groups, haven't they? And actually, you know, maybe that it's a benefit that people don't necessarily always think of, but it essentially is like brain training, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I think about my gran, she was a knitting nut, but I mean, she must have learnt at some point, and by the time she was a granny, you know, sort of with a white cauliflower hairdo, she would fall asleep knitting and keep knitting.
Really? Wow.
In her sleep.
Yeah. Amazing.
And she used to like things like I don't know, Agatha Christie thrillers on the TV, and when it got to an exciting bit, she'd be knitting quicker and not even looking at what she was doing. So, you know, that she must have started somewhere. But I've heard it's very good for hand-eye coordination. And I think if you want to do something like that, then you will get frustrated and come away and go back to it and try again, you know. I teach sewing to a ladies in a housing association, and we get frustrated, and the threads, what I'm teaching them is about how to repair things and make small items for money or for gifts, but it can be frustrating. The thread snarls up, or when you tie a knot to start your sewing, that might come undone, or the fabric frays. But I'm trying to promote kind of mindfulness and relaxation, and it doesn't matter if you can't do it the first time. You know, just try again, and quite often you need to get the feel for the fabric to start with. Like, how does it work? Can you pinch it over and make it stay there? Some fabrics you can do that with, and some you can't. They're just like very bouncy, you know. So
sounds like a great project, and I think that is, you know, finding that it's so when you're trying something new, and you know that frustration you feel, you know, it's kind of when you very reflective how you feel about things in life as well, and you can kind of relate it to craft. And when you start getting your confidence, or you start achieving even small things like threading, or getting a feel of a fabric. I know, I must say, for the first time in my life, finally my cooking's improved over lockdown. Yeah, amazingly. I've always tried to be better, but I have actually suddenly, sort of after repeatedly doing it, because I've had to do a lot more cooking, I've suddenly
10,000
hours. 10,000
hours
hours in lockdown. Yeah, so a hidden benefit. But yeah, I just had another question about your book. I was wondering, at what point did you discover it, and how did it was it a good point for you? Do you think you sort of picked it up because you felt like you needed a bit of a change in where you were with your craft, or?
Yes, I think because I run a sewing business, and I teach sewing, and when I teach my housing association ladies, I do get to be creative and make a mess of the sewing and stuff like that, and I sort of haven't made the time outside of that to do that. So I just realized over the past few years that I kind of got stuck. Like, when you're thinking something and the words don't come out, you're like, or like writer's block, and I'm like, oh, I want to be able to bust out of that, and try something different. I quite like, I never really like abstract art before, and I'm warming to it, and I do a bit of photography just for myself, and I've noticed that I'm enjoying more taking abstract pictures than I did before. And and there's I don't know what you call it in the art world, but there are painters that paint things. I think Picasso was one of them, when they're the wrong color. So you might do a dog, but it's blue, but it sort of works. And there are bits in the book that talk to you about looking at how different colors work, and maybe taking a photo or looking into the distance, and trying to pair what you're seeing with a color palette, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it looks like a great book. Could you just hold it up again, just so I can so conscious
creativity workbook, Philippa Stanton.
It looks lovely. I mean, the front cover's appealing alone.
Yeah, it's lovely. And it's got there's a bit here, I don't know if you can see, the photos are very beautiful, and this section talks about sticking a pin through the pages and then sewing through that.
Oh, wow.
To create different textures and colors on the page. Maybe it's your first time with thread. Maybe it's your first time putting thread on paper. So it sort of guides you towards experimenting with that in that way. There's lots of other bits as well. I don't think I've ever
seen a book so encouraging you to take it apart. It's great.
I know you're not supposed to, but I want to photocopy it and then wreck the photocopies, because then I've actually enjoyed reading through the book without doing anything, just thinking, oh yeah, I might do that, might do this. But then perhaps that's where I've been getting stuck. I'm absorbing all this information and not practicing how to get it out, how to put it on paper or fabric, or express it.
Actually, you need a second copy.
Yes, maybe I do.
One for the showcase, and one for the absolutely destroying.
yeah. I feel like you've asked me some great questions. Have I answered them? I don't know. I'm just really enjoying our chat.
I mean, it's just the passion, and you've really. I mean, I like craft. I like doing things, and I like, from, as I say, my technical skills are very low. I'm very sort of passionate about the idea of craft, and it's, you know, the way you've talked about it is just really enlightening. And that sort of tension between kind of, you know, I think some of the things you talked, we haven't mentioned about craftivism. Of course, we've talked about that before, you know, how it is an act of activism, you know, craft in itself. I mean, I don't know if you've got any sort of things that, I'd love to hear your opinion on that and where you see that. It's obviously
Definitely
publicity more recently, hasn't it?
Yes, definitely. But let me just say, I think if you are have got more into your cooking and you feel that's improved, that is an art and a craft in itself. Definitely, you know.
I'm enjoying it. Definitely enjoying the fruits of it. But yeah, I agree, and I've started to see it like that as well. And I think I suddenly thought, now I've got some technical ability. I'm producing things that I'm enjoying more, and it is rewarding, actually.
Right. Yeah, so maybe you can keep that in mind when you're thinking about the craft. Sometimes we just need a sentence or to repeat a thought in our head to go, oh, actually, you know, I don't know what you cook, bacon and eggs and beans, and I don't know why I thought of that. Oh, I want to crochet a fried egg. Pardon?
Plenter. We've tried.
Yeah. Okay. Well, polenter's like beads.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Way, little glass sand-colored beads or sand.
Yeah.
Even, or sandpaper, which is a bit like suede. Yeah. Maybe to help yourself feel more comfortable. You can, think of the other mediums that look a bit like that.
It's a lovely way to think about it. Just open my eyes to look at food in a completely different way as well. And material as well. Brilliant.
Yeah, cool. And it's made me want to crochet a fried egg.
Okay.
Oh, I need to crochet a full English. And maybe a pint with it.
That's a 2021 project.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So just to go back, you talked about craftism. Craft activism, is that?
Yeah.
So I remember doing my mending session at Grow, and it was fantastic. I taught about 20 people, I think, throughout the event. Had to sew on a button. And I think I was blabbing on about something, and I thought it is a human right to be able to know how to sew on a button for yourself. There's a sense of pride in being able to fix your garment. There's a sense of pride in looking after yourself in wearing a garment that has all the buttons on it and the garment fits you well. Or moving a button, how about that? And then it fits your shape even better.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for that, I think. I was listening to, there's a Mary Portas podcast about fashion, and she was saying fast fashion has such a bad name now, but actually they wanted for people to be able to afford to wear cool things, and that's where it kind of stemmed from. It wasn't like the huge unhealthy juggernaut that it is now. It was about people being able to look good, that maybe they were on a budget. So I've got lost now. Have I got lost?
No, it's interesting. I mean, I think it's just I think, it's sort of a power thing, isn't it? You know, I'm powerful now, and being able to kind of take a bit of control back and express yourself with techniques that are kind of you can have a go at yourself. It's DIY, you know, you can get a book like you've got.
And my ladies, my housing association sewing ladies, I say to them, look, you might not have 5 hours to glue to sew 100 sequins onto something. Nobody's going to mind if you glue the occasional one on. It's not about how neat your sewing is, or about, you know, everyone's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And yes, there are practices that say it should all be sewn on, and that's fantastic. And it does look wonderful, but you know, no one's going to frown if you get the glue out every now and then.
Exactly.
So yeah, so you know, maybe your jeans are too long, turn them up, glue them, staple them if you have to, and then you know it's going to fit you and you're going to feel a lot better.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you for showing us that book. And I'm sold on it. I think it's great, and we'll have to send the link to Philippa Stanton having such
yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's really helped me, you know, with the way things are at the moment, where things are very restricted and everything else, and you know, you could feel a bit like that in yourself. So you know, it's really helpful.
Good.
So, right.
Thank
you very much.
Okay. Should I share a book? Shall I share my book?
Please.
I think it's lovely to have a one-on-one book club with you. This is
I know,
absolutely lovely. We could be sat in having a drink, couldn't we? But we had a little chat before, and I was saying about craft, and really lovely speaking to somebody so passionate and in their area. And it's not something I know. I don't have much about, and I didn't actually have any sort of. I thought I had more craft references on my book shelf, but I was looking for some reference to William Morris, who I have studied a bit, and how his passion for craft, and how this sort of socialist background of that.
Right.
I couldn't find any of that, so I kept looking for other references. And of course, there's always references in it. So I found this book, which I think I would recommend in any kind of arena, but it definitely was related to craft. So this is a book. I might have to read out the name. It's a monthly guide for your soul's journey on this beautiful earth, Environmental Arts Therapy and the Tree of Life by Ian Higginworth. And when you were talking about your book, it sort of struck me that I love a book which you can open on any page and get the same rewards. I mean, that's all. In fact, I find a book front to end difficult, but this one is based on the months. So there is a kind of quite a linear sort of part of this book. So it's actually about eco-psychotherapy, which is something I've kind of looked into over the years. And this book gives you exercises, again, that exercise workshop style thing, where you have exercises to do different things to sort of explore eco-psychology. But why it's sort of linked to craft is some of the exercises in there are craft-y with found objects in nature. There's various different things you can do in there, like make a mobile out of different objects you find. So there isn't any kind of there's things are normally sort of tied together by string or found items, which are really enjoyable and has its
I love that. I love the sound of that. Have you done any of it?
I've got to I actually have had it a couple of years, and I've got through the first couple of months, and I always intend to read it in the month that it correlates to, because it talks about the seasons changing. But I'm luckily we're beginning of the year, so I'm behind. But it's sort of some of the things you're talking about craft and how it sort of is about just grabbing and doing and not worrying about how it maybe looks aesthetically or how it works necessarily. If you're not doing curtains, you're doing something else. And I think that's where sort of craft meets art as well. And I'm glad that people are sort of seeing the synergy between them in that DIY, you know, empowering sense of just picking up what you find and making something out of it. And of course, in nature, you know, when you sort of get to go out in it and spend time with it, there's, you know, you've got everything there as well, haven't you? So
yes, and I met a woman on a walk a few months ago, and I saw she was collecting bits of dead foliage and just bits, and she said, yes, she wasn't picking anything, it was all picked up from the ground.
yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. It's going to give her a kind of bouquet or some sort of display that's actually quite different. She hasn't picked it, it's all found.
Yeah,
Stuff.
the different stages in its life as well. You know, if it's fallen, it's kind of not in its sort of bloom stage.
Yes, yeah.
I think it's really interesting, sort of natural materials in craft, and it's something I'd like to do more of, and I do really enjoy when I get out there and do it, where there's no excuse really. You could do it every day.
I post a photo on my Facebook every day, and I've done it on and off for a few years because there's a book. Oh no, am I going to remember the lady's name? No, Julia, about creating a piece of art every day.
Oh yeah.
I can see it in my mind's eye. Anyway, and I, a few years ago, thought, right, I'm going to take a photo and post it every day. It doesn't matter what it's of, blah, blah, blah. And so, I've done that. But then I just do that then. And I'm not, maybe I need to be pushed. Yeah, again, going back to the book, it's going to push me. And I like your idea of the found objects mobile. Maybe I'll go into my sewing room and I'll collect things lying around. I've got all sorts of weird things lying around, bits of thread and doll shoes and gloves and old hats and things.
Wow.
And maybe I'll make a mobile out of those found things. So
that sounds lovely. I mean, it's it's the idea of, because there's a famous artist that makes and I can remember Calder, I think his name is, he makes mobile, well, he's not alive anymore, he made, and there's something gorgeous about the balance and what's hanging from it. And I think I'd love, if you do make that, well, I hope you do, I'd love to see that, and in person. Hopefully we can, by that point I'll be able to see it in person, but we will by that point, hopefully.
Yes, we will but well, maybe, you know, I can come and do a session at Grow, and
it'd be lovely to get back together
objects and do a mashup of found and provided.
Well, perhaps this is the start of a collaboration. Thank you. And I can, what I'll do is, if you remember any of those names of the books you haven't recalled today, and me too, I can always put a link on the group as well, because we do share the books after the session. So if you missed it, they can obviously watch it and catch up, or they can just check the link, because they've actually built a really interesting resource of with feminism, contemporary art and craft, and resource of books, you know, and there's nothing better than getting a someone recommending it, isn't it, that you sort of
I'm interested in your book. Can I see your book again?
Sure. It's weird looking at it because it's the wrong way round on my screen, so I
love it.
It's I'll definitely show you the details. But it's interesting to sort of talk about craft and how there's so much crossover, and everything leads on to something else, which is really, really exciting, and new ideas are formed and new references are there, and
really good.
I'm not sure we've got anyone else joining us today, Rachel. But
Well, it's been lovely to catch up.
It
Actually.
has. It has.
It's great. It's great.
And we are often, people are watching as well, so watching from home who kind of maybe doing something else. And so I hope that people watching at home have enjoyed the two books, but particularly yours, Rachel, because you've been a wonderful guest host.
Thank you. That's
really
sweet. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolute joy, and thank you for being part of the Grow family for so long, and taking a time out to do this evening. And yeah, lots of people will be interested in what you recommend, because you provide a fantastic service in the community, but also, you know, a lot of joy and passion for what you do as well.
Thank you. Back at you. Get those decks ready.
I know. Well, you get back. Forgot to mention the DJ side. That's I have to bring another collaboration in that way. But
yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm. You know, I feel like you've sold your book to me, and I'm very happy. So
good. I think I'm going to get another copy of it that I can trash and enjoy trashing. So yeah, and I love the way things come out in this. You know, you might want to try some knitting or some crochet or something.
Yeah.
Or you might try and create something using polenta style materials. And I'm going to go and crochet a full English.
I mean, that's the wonderful thing about chatting and collaboration, is that always something comes from it. And you certainly got my stomach rumbling talking about polenta, also ideas flowing. And yeah, you know, I'd love to pick up the conversation about a collaboration between craft and some of the things we've talked about. So
yes, that would be excellent, really excellent.
Well, I will take this opportunity to thank you again. And this is the concluding book club of the series for now, but hopefully we can bring it back into real life at some point. So thank you so much, Rachel. And I'm sure everyone at home's enjoyed this. And yeah, take care. And
take care. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone that is watching, and thanks so much for inviting me. It's great.
Thank you.